Hi, I'm Paul. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and drug addict. I've been through the process as it's laid out in the big book with 2 big book step study sponsors. Most of all, the grace of God. Made my amends and worked 10, 11, and 12 on a daily basis. Well, I learned something new this morning. I thought the reading stopped at page 96, but to my surprise, it doesn't in this group. So, different strokes for different folks. Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. We tried to carry this message to other alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Step 12 is on page 60, and then the paragraph right after that says, many of us explained what an order. I can't go through with it. Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We are not saints. The point is we are willing to grow on spiritual lines. Principles we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. That was my reaction when I first read about the steps, when I was coming to these meetings. God, I can't do this. But, I did do it, and because of that, I did have a spiritual awakening. And it tells me so. Bill tells me I'm going to have a spiritual awakening. I didn't have the same kind that he did, but, I learned to trust and rely on a power greater than myself. Because previous to this, I trusted and relied on self, and we know where that got us. In the first few pages of this, the word if is used 42 times. And that's probably one of the smallest words in the English language and probably one of the most used words, especially from alcoholics. If only I had a better wife. If only I had a better job. If. That was me being on my pity pod, because I was trying to run the show. I wasn't letting God do my bidding for me. I like on, the first part of step 12, just like everything in this book, it's suggestions and it's telling us how to work with other alcoholics. Bill is telling us what to do and how to do it. Suggests that you don't go alone on a 12th step. I've only sponsored one person in this program. I haven't sponsored anybody in the process. But like it says, not in my time, in God's time, And it says here the main thing is that we be willing to believe in a power greater than himself, and that he lived by spiritual principles. And on page 83, it tells us that we have to live by these spiritual principles. It's not theory, it's fact. We as alcoholics have to live that life. The first few years of my life, I was clean and sober. And then I graduated from high school, and I found drugs, alcohol, and women, not in that order, and I was off and running. Before that, I used to go to church on a daily basis. I claim that I'm a Catholic, member of the CIA, Catholic Irish alcoholic. And, I wore that badge proudly for a lot of years, but now I'm proud to be a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and that I found the solution to my problem. And it's right here in the book. And it's surrendering my will and my life over to the care of God as we understand Him. It's another great thing about Bill in this book, we can choose whatever God we want, but we have to choose something rather than ourselves. I'm still learning. I've had alcoholics live with me. I've let them live in my house. They've attempted suicide on a couple occasions. I just had to move because I had an alcoholic that wouldn't leave my house, so I moved so they would leave. it's tough, trying to help somebody when, sometimes we don't have everything that we need to pass on to somebody else. And that's another big thing about, turning your will and your life and trusting and relying on a power greater than yourself. God is, like I said, it says in the book earlier, God is either nothing or he is everything. And for me today, God is everything because, I'm useless without God. A lot of us, make a decision. We make up our mind to do something, and we ask God to help us. I don't do that anymore. I go right to God, and I tell him to help me through this day, right from the beginning when I get on my knees. Help me go through the day today without picking up a drink or a drug or without hurting another human being, and help me try to help another alcoholic. And that's what I ask for every single morning when I get up. I ask God to lead me. I don't try to lead him because I did that previous and it didn't work. The spiritual solution is the way. A lot of people that come into the halls, they don't want to hear the God thing, but they have prejudices against it because of maybe earlier situations in their religious upbringing or whatever. I didn't have any of those prejudices. I knew there was a power greater than myself out there, but I wasn't willing to let go. I wanted to run the show, like it says in step 3. I was the director. I know what's best. Father knows best. And I come to realize I know only a little, more. The longer I'm in this program, the longer I come to AA meetings, I keep learning. I've read this book I don't know how many times, and there's still sections of this book that, wow, oh yeah, Don cracks over Marblehead when I read it. And I've probably read it, a dozen times prior, and I come to an awakening. I'm not always present when I'm supposed to be. That's when, when God's with you, you're present in the moment. You're always there. You're never somewhere else. Like it says, there's 2 days of the week that you don't have to worry about. That was yesterday and tomorrow, because we're powerless over all of those things. God will lead us if we let him. Let go, let God. I've seen, I used to see the bumper stickers on cars when I was active, and I just used to snicker and laugh. I don't see that many anymore. Maybe I'm just not present at the time, but, I used to hear that Alcoholics Anonymous is for quitters. Thank God I'm a quitter, And I've also heard if you want to hide something from an alcoholic, put it in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I know that at open AA meetings. One time I introduced myself as a recovering alcoholic and a part-time jaywalker, and I don't think anybody in the meeting knew what I was talking about, But that's, I snickered at it. I say other things when I introduce myself, but it's just, I didn't come here. I didn't give up alcohol. I didn't give up drugs to be miserable, I want to be happy, joyous, and free, like it tells us in this book. And I can only be that or live that if I'm giving my will and my life over and living in a spiritual solution, living in the spiritual world. I used to have a lot of things. They're not important. Material things don't help us at all. God helps us with everything we do. Alcoholics Anonymous is this book, Alcoholics Anonymous, is I refer to it as the owner's manual for alcoholics, and it does. It tells us what we have to do. And I remember when I first came in and I was asking my sponsor, when I first came into the process. It says, I have to get closer to God. How am I supposed to do that? And he told me to read his word. You know, and the Bible is, you know, the instructions for, you know, Christians or anybody. You know, because like it says in the, I don't know, we close it with the Our Father. And I've heard one person say that he can sum up his spiritual experience or his spiritual acceptance in 2 words: Our Father. You know, and it doesn't, God is, by that he's saying he's everybody's Father. He is there for everybody. God is there for everybody, not just certain religions or sects. You know, it's what we're willing to let go of and to surrender to. God is everything today for me. I try to hand it over to him every single day. Some days I take my will back and it doesn't work very well. But the days that I surrender to him, you know, every single minute of every single day, I'm having a great day, and so are the people around me. So the spiritual solution is in these pages, and you have to do the work to get through those spiritual, to get the spiritual awakening. You know, I got something on the page right next to it. I know you were supposed to look up words, and I got discipline written down here on the page prior to chapter 7. And it says, discipline is something repeated over and over. The heart of discipline is repetition, not completion. It starts with one small task. You know, and I know getting to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting for me at one time was a real task, you know, and I kept doing it, and I kept doing it, and I kept doing it, and I heard, and I listened, and I went through the process. And today I try to practice these principles in all my affairs, not just with alcoholics, but with people that are non-alcoholics. Sometimes it's easier than other days because they don't want to listen, or they just, you know, they're not ready, just like I wasn't ready. I got to these halls exactly when I was ready. And the only reason I got to them is God led me here, and I truly believe that. So I think you've heard enough from me today. And I'd like to hear other people's experiences, because that's how I survive. I survive in these halls, you know. I don't know everything. I learn from you people because my higher power works through you people, and I listen. So if you're here listening, you know, keep coming. It works if you work it. If you're writing, keep writing. It will be over. But you know what? You think the writing's hard? Doing the rest of this, living these principles in all our affairs is a lot harder than the writing. So that's it for me, and I want to thank Suzanne. Thank you for having me speak today, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you.